It's happening, guys. It's finally happening. AI is coming to Space Engineers. After repeatedly hinting at it since the Warfare 2 update, Marek Rosa, the CEO of Keen Software House, has shown off a first look at the AI coming to Space Engineers on his blog. They mentioned many a time that when they wanted to add AI to Space Engineers, they wanted it to interact with the current system of the game, and more specifically, Marek said he wanted you to be able to build your AI companions.
But I think it needs to be done like in a specific way that is specific for Space Engineers, and because in Space Engineers you can build things, so I think it would be much better if you can actually build, your friends or NPCs.
Yeah.
So that's in a very short where we are looking.
And that is what this first look today entails. So here's the blog here, and there's a couple of other things you probably want to be aware of that he's mentioned on here. First of all is that they've announced that DLCs are going to be increasing in price. Not the base game, just DLCs. I'd recommend you get them now as they'll currently be on sale before the price increase happens. But now let's get to the bit you've all been waiting for. Here it is, Grid AI. As Marek said earlier, the Space Engineers devs want to allow you to build your friends, and this is our first look at that. So we've got the paragraph here, and we've also got the screenshot below. So the most important parts of this paragraph are, first of all, coming later this year, which means this AI update is coming this year. What would be the dream is if this came out before July, because in July I'll be hosting my multiplayer server on my Discord, link in the description. If it came out then, we'd be able to test out the AI together, and that would be super awesome. In the past, since its release, Space Engineers has always received an update in June. Now, will this be the case this year? Considering Most Wanted came out at the end of April, I would say it's less likely. However, there are two reasons I do think it will come out in June or July. First of all, Warfare 1 came out in April, and Heavy Industry still came out in June. So it's quite likely we could get these two updates quite close to each other. And number two, there's a big factor why an update and a DLC will always come out in the summer, and that's the Steam Summer Sale. I can almost 100% guarantee that they will release a DLC to coincide with the Steam Summer Sale, so they'll get increased sales, the game will be on offer, so they'll get increased sales again, and they'll release a DLC, so they'll get increased sales again. Triple increased sales. That just sounds like a recipe for success. And if they're adding AI, one of the most requested features in the game for a very long time, woof, it's going to be one hell of an update. I'd imagine that Grid AI will be part of a free update, and there will be a DLC to coincide with it, which would include some cosmetic blocks to go with your AI friends and foes. It also mentions on the blog post that it's going to cover both allies and enemies. I'm really excited for them to add better AI enemies to the game, as it's something Space Engineers is really lacking at the moment. We have enemies in the game currently, but they just kind of just fly in a direction, either towards you or away from you, and shoot you with turrets. It's not really that engaging. Proper enemy AI was something that will revolutionise the way the game is played at the moment, and I'll finally have a reason to use all those fighters I've built over the years. They mention here that they're excited for the workshop to come alive with new creations. Obviously, this means that the new AI will be moddable, as if that was ever in doubt. However, the most exciting part of this paragraph for me is the bit here where they mention that it will serve as the basis for continued exploration of the NPC concept. So, having AI allies and enemies is cool, but having NPCs that actually exist and are just doing their own thing, whether that be trading, flying between bases, stuff like that, that would be so much cooler than just the AI that follow you around or the enemies that fly towards you and shoot at you. Having the Space Engineers world actually feel alive with NPCs would be a massive improvement to the game, and is the thing I think Space Engineers needs the most at the moment. My personal hope is these NPCs will give out quests, because whilst trading is cool and all, it doesn't really do anything. You kind of just put things in and you get credits out. It's not exactly fun. But if you have an NPC that offers you credits as a reward for a quest, say take out this base here, destroy these fighters, escort this cargo, etc, etc, I feel that's a much more engaging way to gain credits and would give them actually more value. Thinking about it, we could probably do with an economy overhaul as well, as I don't think I've really ever interacted with the economy because it just doesn't seem that interesting to me. Again, adding NPCs to trade with would be a massive way to do this. So I'm really excited to see what happens with these NPCs in the future. So here we have the screenshot, our first look at AI in Space Engineers, and you can see they've got these little small grid drones that are built and what looks like a remote control block at the front, except the remote control block has a circle on the front and this has a square. I'm assuming this block here is the AI control block, and that block turns that ship into an AI companion for you. Now it looks like all of these are like cargo haulers. You see the one on the top left has a little cargo container below it, and the one on the bottom right has a little drop pod. I'm guessing maybe the AI blocks have different roles and that these have been programmed to pick up cargo or scrap or something like that. I presume they do have different roles. Maybe we'd have combat roles, we'd have grinding roles, welding roles. Welding roles would be super useful as building ships is super tedious in survival, and maybe mining roles for ores and stuff like that. What would be cool in my opinion if these could go and fly out a short distance away from you and go and mine, but I would be happy if they just hovered around the player like the AI enabled mod does, where the NPCs just kind of stay with the player. But either way would be awesome. Just having this in the game, having AI companions that you can build that fly around with you would be fantastic. It would add so much depth to the game. I did zoom in on this screenshot to see if I could find any new blocks, but aside from the AI control block, I don't think I can see any. But if you've seen any new blocks in this screenshot, please let me know with a comment, as I love looking for little Easter eggs in these screenshots they share. If you want to keep up to date with the future of Space Engineers, you can like and subscribe below, and let me know what you're going to do with the AI companions with a comment below.